Never in my life did I think I'd be making a video about a cup, but here we are. There's a new viral product that's been taking the internet by storm, the Stanley Cup. They come in a variety of different colors, sizes, and even shapes, and the Gen Z girlies are obsessed.
I want one! I want my own army! I want my own planet! I deserve it! I'm just as important as you!
Rumor has it, Target came out with new Stanleys. We must find them. I've seen videos, pictures. This better be good. Yay! Guys. Yes. Everyone talks about this one, but I like the bigger sizes. Why am I obsessed with the green one? I have never seen this one. We have to get it. Haha. Yes! This was so fantastic. My new favorite. Target.
If I like it, I'll just grab it in a different color. If I like it, I'll just grab it in another color. If I like it and they have another color, I'll just grab it.
She's crying over her Stanley. Did he get a dent?
No, I didn't get a dent. It's the fact that he fell on the nasty floor.
The straw too?
Everything.
Local Targets are turning into World War Z as young girls are clamoring to get their hands on this viral insulated tumbler cup, and it's yet another dystopian reminder of how young Americans are fixated on overconsumption and the fetishization of the commodities that they possess. It seems like every 5 to 10 business days, there's a new hashtag life-changing product that we're all supposed to run out and buy. In 2015, it was the Nivea men's aftershave. Then it was the Anastasia Brow Wiz. And who could forget the virality last year of the human-sized dog bed or the anti-wrinkle straw? The trends come and they go, but our ability to be brainwashed to have to own every viral new product on TikTok or on social media is concerning. Young people today have found themselves being more and more ensnared by the lure of these viral products that are a symbol of your value, your worth, your possessions, your commodities. This obsession is eroding individual identities and shaping this aesthetic culture where young minds are being conditioned to be relentless product junkies. Stanley introduced the Quencher tumbler in 2016, and it comes in sizes ranging from the 14 fluid ounce to the 64 fluid ounce, and it costs anywhere from $20 to $60. Stanley Quenchers were not popular when they first were released. Sales were average at best, and Stanley eventually stopped restocking them. But in 2019, the Stanley Quenchers started to gain popularity after they went viral on the Buy Guide, which is an e-commerce blog and Instagram page that's targeted at women. So instead of restocking the Quenchers on their own web store, Stanley instead tested a different market by having the Buy Guide place a wholesale order on 10,000 Quenchers to sell directly to their followers. And then when they restocked the next 5,000, they sold all of them within an hour. And now the Stanley Cup has reached peak superstardom, with Gen Z women flaunting their Stanley Cups, with some even going as far as to build collections of Stanley Cups in their homes. According to MSNBC, Stanley's annual revenue doubled from $94 million in 2020 to $194 million in 2021, to again doubling to $402 million in 2022. There's even a Stanley Cup Hunters Facebook group with over 30,000 members that launched in April of 2022. And this virality comes at the same time as TikTok's obsession with water. Yes, water. Make me sweat. The hashtag Water Talk has over 1 billion views on TikTok. Water Talk is a nickname for a bevy of TikTok users who are creating and sharing water recipes, modifying regular water by adding flavor packets and sugar-free syrups. The trend was started by creator Tanya, aka, who's been creating orange mermaid water, salted caramel apple water, and even cotton candy watermelon water. Oh my gosh, what has society become? I'm so sorry. I hate to stand on my soapbox, I really do, but it is all so ridiculous. But I digress. On January 3rd, the Stanley Cup craze hit a new high when another collaboration between Stanley and Starbucks was released. Limited edition Valentine's Day Stanleys came in pink, and they were exclusively sold at Target for $45, and people were waiting in lines early in the morning, in the cold, outside of Target across the country, waiting for them to open so that they can get their hands on a Stanley Cup.
This is crazy.
I
always say crazy people that go and share.
told her, I'm like,
Yeah, I know we're crazy. Don't judge us.
No.
Must have been a Home Depot bucket.
She didn't know that you were coming?
They're probably like, this fool's outside waiting.
Wait, I'm not liking this.
But it doesn't look like that many.
It's like at least
30 to 40, like they said.
30, 40.
Ashton said you imagine you're like one of the. Oh, it's pink.
It's so cute. All the way back. What?
You can't even hear them, she's like,
Go, go, go. Nope.
Single file. We got this. We got this.
Mom, you got two? If you're getting one. I just want a video. This is funny.
They did it?
Hassan Abi put it best when he said, "The reality is Americans do this because they have no sense of community. They're alienated from their labor and hyper-atomized, so the commodities we consume become our primary signals of culture and community." The Stanley Cup knows how to manipulate young people. They know how to tap into the scarcity mindset, making them feel like if they don't get their hands on this limited edition, that they're ultimately going to be left out of the community. One viral video even shows a Stanley fan trying to shoplift them and then getting tackled and beaten by other customers who were waiting in line for hours. The cups are also being resold on websites like StockX and eBay for as much as $200. And this past holiday season, the Stanley Cup was the top search item on Amazon. Even amongst Gen Alpha kids who people are citing had that at the top of their Christmas list.
I got a Stanley!
Oh my God! We are literally shaping children to be hyper consumers from a young age. What business does a child have wanting to hoard Stanley Cups? Please tell me why children just can't drink out of traditional cups, a sippy cup, a juice box. But I don't blame the children. I blame the very insidious marketing and advertising of Stanley that has targeted these kids at a young age. These kids are young and impressionable, but this trend is really capturing how consumerism is shaping the minds of a younger generation, and they're getting them in hook, line, and sinker, like early on. And consumer insights researcher Hannah Shamji told the Huffington Post, "You don't stampede and Target for a tumbler. What people are buying is a sense of belonging. People want to be in the know or fit in." And PhD professor Dr. Vasily Klusharev said in a Science Daily article, "We often change our decisions and judgments to conform to the normative group behavior." And that's exactly what we're seeing happening now. It's larger than a cup. This encapsulates American culture as a whole. The advent of social media has really revolutionized the way that trends spread, right? It's amplified a culture of consumerism where viral products become status symbols and these markers of our sense of belonging. Platforms like TikTok are now acting as these breeding grounds for these trends and rapidly disseminating products based on recommendations and creating this sense of urgency to always have to have the latest sensation. See my TikTok overconsumption video for more information on that. This endless pursuit for commodities ends up being insatiable, and this consumerism trend started way back in the 20th century in this country. As the 20th century progressed, advertising evolved into being a really powerful tool to influence people to go out and shop and buy back into the US economy. Corporations began to employ this really sophisticated propaganda technique in order to create this desire where people felt like they needed things that they really didn't need. The 20th century was really the birth of this consumerist propaganda that was really strategically designed to manipulate Americans' emotions and make them feel like they had to buy unnecessary items. And Edward Bernays is the architect of this consumerism as we know it today. Edward Bernays was the nephew of Sigmund Freud, and he was a pioneering figure in public relations who's often referred to as the father of public relations. He drew upon Freudian theories and relied on manipulating people's psychologies to make them want to buy more and desire more goods. And one of Bernays' most significant campaigns was the Torches of Freedom campaign, which occurred in 1929, which was commissioned by the American Tobacco Company. Bernays wanted to break the taboo against women smoking in public, and so he associated smoking with the notion of women's liberation and independence, and he successfully convinced them that smoking was a symbol of empowerment. He also used fat phobia by advertising that women could lose weight and get that thin figure by smoking cigarettes. And this campaign immediately boosted cigarette sales and showed his ability to manipulate cultural norms through strategic messaging. Bernays really understood that a demand for products required more than just presenting the facts of what the product was. He believed that if you shaped the desire and the emotional appeal, it would subconsciously trigger people to want to purchase more and more. And it worked. His campaigns were designed to tap into people's deeper psychological motivations as consumers and create this association between products and fulfillment of personal and societal aspirations. And today's social media has only greatened that desire to measure up to societal aspirations because you're constantly comparing yourself to other people. You're constantly looking at other people's lives, which is not healthy, which is not normal, by the way. Not that long ago, back in the 90s and even the early 2000s, you only really used to be intimately aware of people who are in your direct family, friend circle, maybe your neighbors, but now you're being exposed to thousands, millions of people's lives all the time, 24/7. And that is only going to condition our minds to want to emulate what we're seeing online, right? So that we can have that sense of community. As I've talked about extensively on this channel, people are more lonely than ever. There's a loneliness epidemic, and the internet has become our third place because we don't have third places anymore. The only place that people can gather and have that kind of town square is on the internet, which can be a great thing, right? When people are having really constructive, productive conversations where we're making each other smarter, where we're learning from each other. But it can also be a bad thing when it's encouraging greed, when it's encouraging envy, when it's encouraging people hoarding and over-consuming, which is harming our planet, which is harming our self-esteem. Because as psychologist Stuart Weiss puts it, people have more physical objects and possessions than they've ever had in previous generations, but many of them are deeply unhappy. What we're seeing is young people defining themselves more and more through the products that they possess instead of their own individual personal aspirations, personal attributes, what makes them unique. What we're seeing is this homogenization of identity. We have turned into like NPCs in a way, non-playable characters for those of you who aren't chronically online like me. We've almost turned ourselves into AI where we're all trying to curate this identity so we can get our Stanley Cup and take really aesthetic photos on Instagram and on TikTok and just be in with the crowd. Don't get me wrong, a tumbler with a handle attached to it that's insulated is a great idea, but it's nothing new. It's nothing revolutionary. I've had them for many years myself, not a Stanley Cup, but one nevertheless. And people are chasing though after this brand. They're chasing after the brand experience. They're not chasing after the actual functionality of the cup because these cups have been around. I mean, if you go to Marshall's, TJ Maxx, they have a dime a dozen insulated tumbler cups with handles on them. But that's not what people are rushing to purchase. They're rushing to purchase the Stanleys in particular because they're chasing after the brand experience. They're chasing after the trend. And this isn't an attack, by the way, of anyone who has a Stanley Cup, but I do want you to reflect deeper on how social media can manipulate you into buying products. And I would hope at the very least that you only have one and you're not hoarding them. I really do believe that constantly chasing after trends makes people feel more inadequate, more anxious, more insecure, because there's always going to be a new product that you're always going to feel a need to buy. You're always going to have this fear of missing out that why don't I have this one? And why don't I have this one? And why don't I have this one? And you buy and buy and you hoard and you just look around and you just have a house full of items that you never needed in the first place that you thought was going to fill the void, and it didn't fill the void. And that feeling just never goes away. Unfortunately, thinking independently, thinking critically, it's hard work for a lot of Americans, and so they have to follow a trend. They need the trend to think for them. Following a trend is much easier than thinking for yourselves. And I don't want to rag on Gen Z because us millennials had our fair share of trends too. From silly bands, to Uggs, to Toms, to moccasins, to these shoes from the early 2000s that I have no idea what they were called, but I used to call them the fisherman shoes because they just remind me of a fishing net. iPods. For years and years, there's been that shiny new product that is trending that people feel like they need to go out and buy. But at what point are we going to start asking ourselves what we're doing to ourselves, what we're doing to our finances, what we're doing to the planet in this endless, relentless, insatiable pursuit of possessions? I mean, personally, my New Year's resolution this year is to buy less stuff. We are so desensitized to the labor that we don't see. We don't understand how much effort goes into constantly having to churn out these products because of the increased demand. We don't understand the labor costs and the working conditions. I'm not making any allegations against Stanley. I have no idea what the working conditions are, but we have no idea what all it takes to get these products. All I want for people, for young people, for older people, for people of all generations, I just want them to divorce themselves from external validation. And it's so easy to be manipulated. It's so easy to fall victim to propaganda. No one is immune, but I try to do my best to educate people, to make them understand that corporations are trying to manipulate you into buying things that you don't need, all so that they can make a profit. How do you show restraint? How do you limit yourself to the products that you need? And yeah, some things for entertainment as well, but with moderation, of course. I've been there. I'm not immune to it. As I've been talking about in my last few videos, we've been so conditioned, especially in this country, to just follow along with whatever the powerful entity, whatever the popular entity, whomever is trying to brainwash us that this is what we need to do, this is what we need to believe. I just want you guys to think deeper. I just want you guys to think harder because I genuinely care and I genuinely want the best for society. But I'd love to hear from you all in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on this latest Stanley Cup craze? And if you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. And if you really liked it and you want more content like this, definitely do not hesitate to hit that subscribe button. We talk a lot about overconsumption. We talk a lot about consumerism. We talk a lot about corporate greed. There's a lot more where that came from. So definitely don't hesitate to subscribe, and I'll talk to you all next time.